when we go to stand up, you can just pull it into space, because we're going to do this movement later. We're going to fold and come up and stand and then sit back down. And some of you may want something in front so that you can work on this shift without being afraid of falling forward. So all of that can be a good thing. And then I am going to go into, everyone's muted now, and I'm going to be in pinning the video, my own video, so I can really see what you guys are seeing. And so if you have a question, feel free, please, to unmute and ask a question, and then we can go from there, right? If there's a specific question or a specific issue. So don't be shy in that regard. Okay, so let's dive in. Make sure you're in your chair and move to sit to the front edge of the chair, okay? So we're here, and many of us will sit back in our chairs and kind of rest back in the chair. So just this simple gesture of scooting the tush forward, and notice how much of my legs are over the ground, as opposed to being, let's say, here, and you're kind of half and half on the chair, off the chair. Challenge yourself, not too far, of course, but just to where you feel what are called the buttock bones or the sits bones. And you feel those little bones right there. And what's special about those bones is that is where pelvic tilting happens. And that pelvic tilt affects the posture all the way up. So that's something we're going to be working on just in a moment. But make sure you're there, feet planted, and thighs about parallel, about hip distance, hands resting on your thighs. And let's just do about 10 very thorough breaths. Nasal breathing as best you can. So inhale through the nose. Notice that expansion. Hold the breath for a moment. Feel that sort of stretch quality. And then out the nose, exhale like a seeping from a balloon all the way out. And then at the end of your exhale, you'll sort of squeeze the breath out like you're pushing it out. And then hold the breath out for a moment. And then when it's time, let the breath in through the nose. So it'll sort of come in passively. This is an important point. Passive and then active. Then actively pull the breath. Hold the breath there and just feel that stretch to the ribs, to the spine. It opens up nerve pathways, lets them flow out. And then let the breath out passively so it seeps out. And then actively squeeze the breath out the rest of the way. And hold that breath empty. Holding, feeling that core work there. Then inhale, let the breath in passively. Then actively hold it. Really feel that fullness and enjoy that fullness. There's this, it's almost like a hug to the heart. The lungs hug the heart. And then exhale, emptying slowly. And then actively exhale. That's core work, like doing sit-ups. Diaphragm, ribs, back, stomach, all that good stuff in. Holding it in is very important. We could be here a couple seconds. Empty, empty, empty. Then inhale. Let's do about 4 or 5 more together without me yapping. Let's do just one more. Mine are abnormally long, so maybe you guys have already done 4 or 5. All right, now we're sitting. We have our pelvis, we have 24 vertebrae of the spine and a skull sitting on top. We want to move that spine. We do not want our spine to become rigid. So on those sits bones, roll back a little bit. You see this roll back. This looks like bad posture, and it would be if we just were in it all the time, but it's a good position to make when we do it for therapeutic reasons. So not only roll back, but drop the head and let the chin fall. Feel your whole spine open on the back. Feel the gates open up, the nerve gates, the chi gates. Then tip the pelvis back to what we'll call neutral, which is in the middle, and you got a straight spine. And then go further in the other direction, tip the pelvis forward. You should feel an arch in your back. And then the chest lift, chin lift, and we take it into what's called spinal extension. Then relax, come back to neutral, and then go towards spinal flexion. Tip the pelvis, add, slide the hands forward like you're reaching out the fingertips with electricity, reaching, and you feel your shoulder blade area open. Drop the chin to open the back of the neck. And then tip the pelvis back to neutral, and the spine rises to neutral like a string is attached to the top of your head. Then tip the pelvis forward. Now we're going to add the breath. Inhale, tip forward, lift the chest. Now pull elbows back, squeeze your shoulder blades back, lift the chin, open the throat. And then relax the effort, find your way to neutral, settling for a moment, and then continue right on through, rounding. This would be with the exhale. Exhale, exhale, exhale. You hold the breath out, hold the position, open the gates of the back up. And then with the inhale, start towards neutral. Go right on through neutral. Arch the back. Lift the chest, spinal extension, elbows back, shoulder blades back. That's not me, that's someone else. I think that's Nancy.
Yeah, I'm trying to get rid of it.
Who comes on a little late, I think is anyone who shows up a little late is unmuted when they arrive. So that's what we'll have to remember. Okay, let's do just one more full round here where we exhale, tip the pelvis, really open the back. I don't know if you can see it here, but I'm really kind of almost forcing my spine back to open, open, open. And then neutral. And then finally tip forward, lift the chest, lift the chin, reaching up through the heart, the chin. Feel that invigoration to the throat, that thyroid gland area. It's so important to open. And then let's settle to neutral. What you can and will feel over time is neutral. It feels less like work. Eventually zero work to just have yourself be standing in the middle. There'll be less of this kind of hold on to your body. It'll become this relaxed feeling, and then all the nerves and chi and breath and organs, everything just kind of can move in its way rather than all this constriction, right? And especially when you're dealing with PD, Parkinson's, right? That's something that happens and happens and happens, but it happens to everybody, is this rigor mortis kind of feel of tightening our body as we age. So keeping it fluid is so powerful. Now, the twist. Left hand to right thigh, right hand slides up to right hip. So that's our grabbing of the ledge of the leg. When we twist, turn from the lower, then the middle, then the upper. So belly, turn. Shoulders and ribs, turn to the right. Head, turn to the right. And then use your hands like a little bit of leverage. Pull on the leg, but don't let the leg collapse in. So you kind of push the leg into the hands as you pull. And you can feel you get this extra little kind of icing on the cake, this twist, like a wringing out of a rag. And then release the effort, let go, and roll everything back to center, neutral. Let's twist the other way. So the hands grab the ledge. So you can just kind of go boom, like this, grab. And then we turn belly, shoulders and rib cage, head and neck. Now Ed, look with the eyeballs. Try to see behind you as if someone's kind of sneaking up on you, and you want to just look behind. And then we come back to center. 2 more each way. Let's add the breath. Inhale, center. Exhale as you twist. Turning, the hands grab. We use a little leverage with the hands. Twist, bring out the rag. Hold the breath empty for 1, maybe 2 or 3 seconds. And then inhale as you come back to center. We take a moment in center and just enjoy that rush. And then exhale, we twist. So we're squeezing the organs of the belly, the liver and spleen. We're wringing out the spine. We're getting a sort of movement through the ribs to compress one lung and release another. And then inhale back to center. One more just in silence. Inhale back to center. Exhale here, let your arms fall. They're hanging, heavy and loose, right? Most often we are grabbing and then grabbing and grabbing our brain to the muscles of the arm. We're like holding ourselves in place and then just allow for that to soften and release. So now here, this right arm, let it be a little heavier, as if you got to reach something that's just to the side of you. Notice how as you let that hang, you see my spine, my head just gently falling to that side. So this would be your easiest version of this exercise. We come back to center. Some of you will feel like this is plenty, right? Where you just lean the smallest amount. The more stiffness you have in the body, the more you have to start small, very small. Back to center. Now let's take it a little step further. We lean, let this left arm float up. And notice I'm not reaching my arm out stiffly. I'm just like a puppet arm, like a little marionette. The elbow floating, the wrist is like hanging. I always say like a piece of ripe fruit. It's just hanging there. So there's nothing extra. Leaning maybe even a little bit further. And then back to center. And make sure you're keeping a nice anchor in your tush, your buttock bone, so you're not going to fall that way, right? We're not falling. We're keeping a root and then just bowing our spine gently. Now again, we're leaning. Let that right elbow rise up. Again, stop anywhere that you feel even a slight amount of like, ooh, I'm losing my balance. You stop and just enjoy. Maybe some of you will go a little further. Maybe the elbow reaches, right? As if this elbow tip is going to pierce the ceiling. You're reaching. And then let that right piece of fruit on the hand just fall back to center. One more. This is going to be the maximum option. Tipping. That left elbow rises. You could stay at any of those other places, or maybe let the hand, you see how it's rising up. Maybe even reach it a little bit overhead and circle your wrist. One direction 3 times, other direction 3 times. And then right piece of fruit hanging all the way back to center, other side. Leaning, keep your root, keep a nice rooted feeling through the buttocks. Lean, let that right elbow float up. Maybe the hand just keeps on rising. One of the names for this exercise, piercing heaven and earth. Then circle that wrist 3 times, one direction. 3 times, other direction. And then right piece of fruit hanging. And down we come. Shoulder shrugs. Up. Make fists. Squinch your forehead, your cheeks, your face, your jaw, your scalp. Tighten it up. Almost imagine stress. Fake stress. Go, oh God, I'm angry or I'm stressed. And then choose to just let go of all of that. The brain relaxes. The face and scalp and head and neck and shoulders. Everything melts and hangs. And then shake the arms twice, 3 times. Then do it again. Shrug. Make fists in the hands and squinch up your face, squishing all the muscles around the eyes, cheeks, mouth, jaw, neck, ears, everything. And then melty, 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 all the way down. Totally relaxed, hanging and shaking. Now this one that's often a little tricky, notice the sternum, back. Then as the sternum goes back, the shoulder blades they separate. This is called protraction, separate. And then sternum lift, shoulder blades return to neutral. Then sternum goes up as the shoulder blades slide back, like you're cracking a walnut. Lift the chest and slightly lift the chin. And then we're back towards neutral. Again, neutral is where we want to go. Add to that sternum, shoulder blade protraction, and then your arms, like they're a rag that you're wringing out, turn them internally so the palms face out. Turn, and you round, you drop your chin, so you're going to the maximum direction, maximum range in that direction. And then release the effort that you're making and just gently return to neutral. And then we go the other way. So it's both sternum lift, shoulder blade retraction, and now arms turn out so your palms face out. Lift the chin, get this wringing out feeling like a rag that just needs to be wrung out. And then relax. You're coming to neutral. One more each way. Internal rotation with protraction and thoracic rounding. Thoracic spine is your middle spine behind the heart. Return to neutral. And thoracic extension, arching, rolling open, wringing out the rag. And then we're back to neutral, and then let's put it all together. Rounding, come forward. Now just watching me for a moment, notice the shoulder blades lead. I move the shoulder blades first. That's what pulls me up. So shoulder blades up, and then as my shoulder blades go back, the arms roll. They have to follow, and they end up in this sort of position here, and then melt and release the arms down. Do it again. So we're rolling forward, then we're shrugging up and back with the shoulder blades. The arms kind of pull along like a tail. The arms are like the tail of the shoulder blades. And that's a very important principle in Tai Chi, is moving your arms in this way. Let's switch directions. Shoulder blades go back and we open up. Then they come up and roll forward. The arms again like a tail following the movements of the shoulder blades. Once more, back and up, rolling forward and coming down. And now we're back to center. Now, that was shoulder blades. We also have this joint, the glenohumeral joint. Humerus bone is this upper arm bone, and then it's a little socket there. So lean a little bit to your right and then hang that arm. Let go of any clenching, release it, then circle it in the joint, right? And some of you, if you have any kind of frozen shoulder situations, you want to be even smaller. Others of you will feel like, ooh, I'm going to let it really stir. I'm going to really stir the cauldron over here to get that joint to have a nice stimulation there. Circle in the other direction. Start small and bigger, right? And this is helping to just let go of where we clench. And then let's let it come back to center and lean back to the middle. Other side, leaning enough that you feel it hang. Then small circles. Maybe they get larger. You stir the pot, stir the cauldron, getting that shoulder to release. And so much of what we want to learn in Tai Chi, switch directions in the circle, is how to move our body differently, how to use relaxation as the mode of commanding this body, this vehicle that we have. And it's most important when we start to age, and it's most important if we have any nervous system issues like many of you are dealing with, is this idea of, I got to learn to move differently. I got to learn to move relaxed. All right, now fold at your elbows. We get the elbows folded, and then we take it one step further. Squeeze the elbow joint as if you're crushing a little seed inside the elbow joint, and then relax that effort and just feel the elbow joint open and this sort of flood out through the fingertips. Drop the hands, let the arms hang. This is a key for Tai Chi arms, is the elbows, when we're letting our arms rest, are not locked. They're slightly bent. So they're like a spring loaded, right? So that's what we're creating. Do it again. folding. Then compress the elbows just to feel what it's like to compress, 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 and then let go of the effort of compression. Feel that flow through the elbows to the fingertips and drop your hands alongside you. Keep that open elbow joint sort of bouncy and float the arms up in front. Right now they're in front of us at shoulder height. Now we turn the palms face down. This is called pronation, the forearm bones turning and turning, turning and turning. And we're not turning the upper arm bone in the shoulder socket. That's staying stable so that we can get the maximum range of motion in our wrist and forearm and hands. Last one, palms up. Now, wrists turn slightly in, back to neutral, out. Don't go for maximum range. Don't push it. Just isolate just the wrist. Just the wrist. Getting your brain to be able to command the body. Now, back to center. This one's a little tricky. In, fold the wrists back. So I'll turn sideways. You can see, look how much I'm folding here. Fold at the wrists. Then gather your fingers. This little Qigong hand position where we're not making a fist, we're folding the fingers in and grabbing like so, and then pinching fingers together like this. So make that position, then drop that position down and do turn your arms all the way this way. So now we're internally rotated, and then release and come back. And then fold at the wrist. Gather your fingers to that position again. Try to remember this position. And then come down, under, up, and then splay everything out and hold there. Do it one more time, and eventually we can just flow right through, all the way around and out. And then we go back around, down, up, and out, and release. Let the arms swing, swing, and then hands come up. Last one with the hands, tiger claw. Watch closely, my fingers at the tips of the digit on every digit. And if you look at your hands, you'll probably find one or two fingers have not come along for the ride. So make them come along, and then bring the fingers in like a fist and the thumb around the outside like a fist. And then release that and go all the way open and spread. All 10 fingers, claw. It's called tiger claw. Claw all the way into a fist and give a nice squeeze. And then open and all the way spread. One more, claw. And release. And spread. And then drop. Very good. Now sit back against your chair now. Sit all the way back to where the back of the chair is something you're resting against. And let's take the right leg forward. Totally straighten through the thigh, the knee. And then notice how that firms the quad muscles and the knee muscles. Pull the toe end of the foot back and feel that shin muscle tone up. And then point the foot, feel the calf and Achilles tendon tighten up and stretch the shin. And then point. Then back and flex, point, and go. And I have no shoes on today to show you guys this little bit additional. The foot, and then you can see my toes can clench in that direction. The toes can spread back, and then the foot can flex. Point, grip, spread, flex. Good, let's switch legs. Down with that first leg, float up. So we're toning and strengthening the knee and quad. Then point, maybe clench. Some of you are wearing shoes, I'm guessing, but you can still sort of feel your toes in your shoes. Point and clench, spread and flex. Point and clench, spread and flex. Good, one more. Point and clench, spread and flex. And put that foot down. Now float your right leg again. Here, keep it in slightly flexed position, so it's not pointed, it's flexed. And then the foot goes a little in, back to center, out. It's called eversion, inversion. It's this small movement at the ankle joint, but it is the key for balance, especially in a kind of a terrain that is changing, like concrete that's uneven, the sand, the earth, the dirt. This ankle needs to be able to kind of rock and roll a little bit. Let's go ahead and switch legs. Set it down. Other leg out in flex position, a little in, a little out. A little in, a little out, a little in, and a little out. Back to center, set that foot down. Now float the right leg. Full circles. Out, point, in, and flex. Out, point, in, flex. One more in that direction. Out, point, in, flex. And then other direction. In, point, out, flex. In, point, out, flex. In, point, out, flex. And down. Other side. Float the leg. Circle outward first. Out, point, in, flex. Full circle. This is a wonderful one if you're sitting around watching television, you're reading a book even. Go ahead, circle in the other direction. Maybe you're just sitting outside enjoying a view. Taking time to move your joints in the ways that they can. Let's come back to center. Set the foot down is a great way to keep your practice throughout your day. Keep tuning your brain and body, right? So if you can fit these in all over the place, is really good. Okay, now scoot forward once more. Let's do our hip rotation, and then we're going to do some standing. So with this left leg first, lift the ball of the foot off the ground so the heel is still touching. Now from the hip socket, turn open. So you swivel on that heel by turning from the hip. This is an important piece. And then we come back to center and internally rotate a little bit. Notice how this thigh bone can go further than neutral. It can go in. Turn it out. Feel this ball and socket joint that's turning externally, back to neutral, and then slightly turning internally. Now let's walk the leg out using this mode of transportation. External rotation, place the ball of your foot on the ground. Lift your heel a little bit. Swivel on the ball of the foot. So the knee falls in, the heel pushes out. Then put the heel down, lift the ball of the foot. Roll open again. Now we're a little more open. We're getting more release to the hip. Put the ball of foot down, lift the heel. Swivel, let the thigh fall in. So the knee is protected because we're moving from the hip. Last time, lift the ball of foot and roll open. Now be at your maximum opening. Take your left hand and rub inner thigh. All the way out to the knee. You can use your thumbs, find any little tight spots there. A lot of knee pain that a lot of people experience actually comes from the hip, from this being bound and pulling on this joint. So we're cleaning that. Hamstring, inner thigh, knee joint, thumbs around the knee. Massage that knee. Take care of the knee, and then let's bring it in. So move from the hip. Internal rotation, ball of foot down. Lift the heel. External rotation, heel in, knee out. Ball of foot up. Internal rotation, lift the heel. External, and we are back to center. Very good. Let's go the other way. So lift right ball of foot, and let's just open and close a couple of times. And the reason this hand is helpful is it focuses on everything being connected. So we're not just moving our foot, right? But we're moving from the hip socket, way up in there. And then in. One more before we walk. Out. In. Now let's walk it out. Out. Hold there. Lift the heel. Internal rotation. The heel pushes out as the knee and thigh fall in. Then roll it open. Set ball of foot down. Lift the heel. Swivel. And then on this last one, it should be your maximum range. Some of you, like you can see, I'm pretty open here. Some of you might be much more like this just because the hip's tight. Totally fine. Still give it that massage, right? So whatever your angle is, then massage the inner groin area, the hamstring underneath, the top a little bit. And then once you get out to the knee, use your thumb to just massage that inner knee, top of the knee, right? Loosening up that space. And then let's walk it back in. Internal rotation. These are terms that you're learning. external rotation, internal rotation, external, and neutral. Okay, now make sure you've got anything you need in front of you for balance, right? And I'm just going to change my view here so I can make sure I can see folks well. Okay, so make sure you got everything you need for keeping you safe, okay? So we're at the edge of the chair. The key to standing up well is a couple things. Feet come back a little bit, so they're just slightly behind the knees. Then we think not standing up, right? That's never going to work. We tip hinging forward. Head and shoulders have to notice where they are. They're going past my knees a little bit. And then the first gesture, if you want to just watch the first one, if you feel at all unsafe, is forward, forward, right? Forward. And then notice how I'm staying here and then pushing down to rise up. And I can keep this neutral, relaxed torso because I know that my power of standing up is coming from me being rooted, right? So now I'm not holding on to my body to keep me up, right? Because in fact, holding up your body with tension makes you top heavy, and that's where we walk like this and then we can fall down instead of let go of everything up top and just feel a really good root down through your feet. Let's sit and stand a few times here. So notice this. When I go to sit down, I don't go back to the chair. That's what a lot of people do. I actually tip the head and shoulders forward and send my tush behind my heels. And then bend the knees slowly, sinking, 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 landing, and then come back to neutral, right? This protects the knees, it builds strength where we need it, and it's also a technique-based way of moving rather than strength. Now, hinge at hips, fists are in front, and then push forward, and then push down to rise up. Long out through the crown of the head, no tension in your shoulders and upper body. And then the butt goes behind the heels, the head and shoulders a little forward. Then you sink and find your seated position. Let's do that a few more times, maybe 3, maybe 4, just based on your own rhythm. Forward, then down through the feet to rise you up nice and strong, but relaxed. Then the butt goes back as the fists come forward. You sink slow, slow, slow. Last one there wins. Last one there wins. Last one. And arrive. 2 more. 2 terms for you. Concentric and eccentric. Concentric means win against gravity. That's us standing up, right? This requires oomph. This requires power. Right? And then sitting down doesn't require power, it requires something else. This controlled release. Controlled release. Let gravity do the work, but don't let gravity win. Control against gravity, right? That's how you land the hot air balloon. But to get it off the ground requires that fire, right? So tip and then push. So this is a wonderful at-home practice multiple times a day. We're going to take it one step further. Now sit only 90% of the way down. Don't land on your chair, but sit the butt back, sink low. Some of you will stop this high. That's fine. Stay there. We're going to stay. So only go as low as you can stay in the position, kind of like you're skiing, right? And if you feel any pain in the knees, it is probably because you're pushing forward in the knees instead of sitting your butt back and sinking through the heels a little bit extra. And then let's rise up. Let's do that 4 more times. The squat and hold. Butt back. Sit low. Find the position that you can stop and hold. And notice your spine here. You don't want to let it release and round. You have to actually tone it a little bit because you got to fight against gravity. to keep a good line. So you're not falling with your chest, and then push down and rise up. 2 more. In the Qigong Chinese medicine blueprint, our legs have our reservoir of energy. So we're tapping into our reservoir of life force here. Let's do it again. Butt back, sit. Hold that position and tap into that life force. Breathe through the nose if you can. In yoga, this is called chair pose, power pose. It's actually translated as fierce posture, fierce power in your legs. Wake it up, bring it online, and then let's stand up. Very good. Let's stay standing, okay? Now I'm gonna face forward. So those are regular squats, okay? So you have sit to stand, which is sitting and standing. Then you have the squat, where you squat and then rise, and squat and hold and then rise, that kind of a thing, okay? Now we're gonna do what's called Tai Chi squats, which is less challenge and more technique, okay? So this one here, lock your knees a little bit back. This is how a lot of people stand, and we rest bone on bone for our balance, and it's a very unstable balance. So now from a locked knee position, unlock the knees towards a bent, but don't bend them because that hurts the knees over time. So from locked, slightly bend. And then feel what's called the bubbling spring. The ball of your foot, not your heel or toes, but that ball of foot, it's called the bubbling spring. Let your body weight melt down through you and contact the floor through that bubbling spring. So let's do this a couple of times. Lock your knees and then practice what it feels like to unlock, but not bend, right? Let the knees bend because you open them, not because you're bending them. That's a little distinction point, and it's tricky. Once more, lock, just so you can feel what it's like to now unlock, and we'll call this rooting. We're sinking our weight down through the legs, through the bubbling spring. Now this becomes most important when we start shifting to one leg and the other, like in walking or in Tai Chi. A lot of times we'll shift over, we feel unstable, so we lock out in that leg. So now just shift over to the right leg and see if you can feel the weight go down through, because the other dangerous thing in walking is if we go too far. We go too far laterally instead of appropriate amount over and then release it through the leg, through that bubbling spring. Now notice how when you do that on the right, the left foot becomes a little lighter, becomes emptier, right? And then let's shift the whole body, hips, shoulders, head, over to the left, and then let it get through all the way to the bubbling spring, the ball of that foot. And then we're gonna shift. Notice when we shift, I'm not doing hips by themselves, I'm not doing head and shoulders by themselves. I'm whole body, over and then down and through. Feel this other foot empty. You might even just kind of play with swivel that other leg. See if you can empty that hip so the hip is able to internally and externally rotate. And then shift. Once you empty that right leg by filling the left, can you kind of gently swivel to feel that hip be light and open and relaxed? And now let's flow it a little bit. Shift. And shift. Good. Shift. And shift. Now, take one hand on your belly button, or more precisely your pubic bone. So genital area here, come above that to your pubic bone. Other hand behind, touch your tailbone. Those work in tandem with each other, right? They're at the same height. So you got pubic bone, tailbone. Now shift to your right leg and turn your pelvis so your pubic bone points a little to the right and your tail points a little to the left. Keep it pointed in that direction and shift to the left leg. Once you arrive in the left leg, turn the hips so that the pubic bone points left and the tail points right. Then keep pointed to the left, shift to the right, then turn to the right. And then we're going left. Shift to the left. Turn to the left. Now, if you feel comfortable with that, drop your hands and shift to the right. From the pubic bone and tailbone, turn to the right. Notice, oh, the hands just actually go in that direction as well because the shoulders are turning. Now I'm shifting to the left and turning from the hips. The hands just naturally wash across, right? I would have to effort my stiffness to do that and not let my hands come with me, right? If I relax, they just naturally flow and turn. This is called the bear washes paws in the stream. We're shifting and we're turning. We're doing all of the Tai Chi principles here. We're separating empty and full. We're moving from our dantian, this center in our pelvic region. We're practicing body upright, which is this crown suspended, and we're practicing relaxation, which is one of the 5 principles. That was 4 of them. The 5th one has to do with relaxing through the fingertips and the hand, called Beautiful Lady's Hand. I like to think concert pianist hand, right? So now, lastly, come across here, wrap your right hand, we're in the right leg, wrap the right hand behind your back. So we're taking it out of the mix for a moment. Left hand, turn so the palm faces back towards the left. Now, shift left. Turn the hips left. This does what's called brush knee. Let this hand float up like it's a crane wing to shoulder height. Roll the arm so the palm faces the sky. Fold at the elbow. The hand should come right in front of your face. Right in front of your face here, right? So we're turned and the hand is in front of the face. Now, shift. Turn the waist and the hand will naturally do what's called push. It floats in that direction. Let the hand drop down and back into the water like the bear position. Now we shift the weight, turn the waist, and the hand comes through. Let it rise up like a wing. Roll the palm face up and fold. And now we're shifting, we're turning, and the hand is crossing through and down. 2 more. Brush knee and push. Shift, turn, and brush knee. Let the wave of the motion go through. Turn the palm and roll it over. Then the other way. Shift and turn and push. We're working on all the principles. Shift and turn, brush knee, and float the arm like a wing. Roll and fold. Shift and turn and push. Now, bring your right hand out, left hand's coming down, standing bear, across. This is like our basic, the standing bear. Now, wrap the left hand around behind you. We turn the right hand. Let's do brush knee and push. So remember, it comes from the legs and the hips. Shift and turn, then let that carry through the hand. Roll, fold. Now we go the other way with the legs and hips. Shift, turn, push. Down with the hand. We shift and turn, and the hand floats out and up. You can see it's circling the joint. The joint loves this. All the joints love this circular movement. Shift, turn, and push. Everything's coming from legs and hips. 1 more. Shift, turn. Brush knee, float the arm, roll it, fold it. Shift, turn, push. Now, final challenge. This is where the brain starts to really get fritzy for many folks. As this right hand comes down, left hand's coming up, rolling and folding as we prep. Now we're ready for brush, knee, and push. Shift, turn. Now it's brush and push, simultaneous. Now the right arm becomes a wing as the left hand comes down. Roll the right hand and fold as the left hand enters the water. Now we shift, turn the waist, and then let that momentum carry through the hands and let the hands just replace each other. At first, this is going to feel weird and difficult. Eventually, it becomes the most natural thing in the world, and it's so soothing. My sensation of it is a washing. I'm washing my nervous system, right? I'm soothing and washing it because I'm relaxed. I'm not tight. I'm not forcing anything. I'm letting go. I'm letting all the fluids of the body flow over here, cycle through, and then I'm taking them back and flooding them this way. My mind is calm. My breath is thorough and relaxed. Brush, knee, and push. And this is just one of so many beautiful movements that we can work on. Now, the last one we're going to play with here before we're done is what's called golden rooster standing on one leg. So standing bear back to center, and we're here in our ready stance. Now, shift your weight over to your right foot and turn on your left foot the toes out. So you can turn by the heel or you can swivel on the ball of the foot, but just a little turn out. This is another position. Now shift your weight through that left leg, emptying your right foot, and option one would just be lifting the heel, right? Just lifting the heel. That's it, right? So you could be here lifting the heel. If you feel comfortable, step the foot a little in front and try to have this foot empty as this one is supporting you. So we're sitting in this back leg like it's a little bit of a spring-loaded chair, right? And you're on your toes in your front foot. Someday you'll want to get to your tippy toes. If balance is really with you, someday, and again, this is where people get in trouble. When you see me lift my foot, the tendency is for people who aren't ready to pull the leg up and it throws their balance off. So be very careful, just empty. Now step this right foot back next to your left foot with the toes turned out, shift your weight. Now we're in that right leg, empty left foot, lift the heel, maybe just step it a little bit in front. But the goal here is to get what's called 100-0. 100 in the back leg of your body weight, 0 in this front leg. Maybe you get up to your tippy toes. Maybe you even just play with a millimeter off the floor, but don't let your torso fall, right? And then step it back. Now let's add the arms. Shift to the left leg, left hand down by your hip, right hand bend at the elbow so it's up just in front of you there, and empty the right leg. So that could be your whole one there, or you could step the foot and touch the floor. Golden rooster. Bring the right foot back empty. If you can time it, shift the weight and change the hands. Right hand down, left hand up, and step that foot or just lift the heel. Golden rooster. 100% in back, 0 in front. Step the left foot back empty. As you shift, time the hands. 1 down, 1 up. Empty right leg. Touch the toe if you'd like to. Step back empty. Maybe a teacup. Picture a teacup. Shift the weight. Right hand down, left hand's coming up. Empty and touch. Golden rooster. Standing on one leg. Let's do 2 more to each side. If you can, see if you can get rid of all the tension in your body. Let go. When you let go, notice how that actually connects you to the floor. You let yourself root, and then everything is relaxed. It's so common that we're all holding on to our bodies instead of releasing. Everybody is dealing with that at all ages and people with or without defined kind of issues, right? Like PD, right? So everyone's doing this same thing, and that's why it behooves every one of us to work on let go and root through one leg, empty this leg out. 1 more each side. So now we're doing it like Tai Chi, a flow. Shift, change hands, and arrive. Last one. Step back. Shift, change hands, and arrive. Good. Bring the left hand down as well. Step both feet back, straighten up, and final position, swivel. Notice how I'm doing a swivel step, kind of a safe way of getting wider. And then once you get a little wider, so you have a sort of shoulder distance stance, bend both knees a little, float up like wings, and then do a bear hug around an imaginary tree. So I'm going to walk close so you can see my arms. My arms are like this. They're not either like this, sharp joints, nor are they straight. Find that perfect middle. It's kind of ballet-esque, dancer-esque. And then notice what that term I used earlier, beautiful lady's hand. It denotes the wrist, the fingers. They talk about this little chi glove, a little bit of space between each finger, right? And then you're holding this sort of hugged position while you're slightly bending the knees and connecting through the bubbling spring. Then add to that a slight amount of pelvic tilt, right? So your hips not being here, but being there. So you sink down, the arms are here, so that's kind of opening your upper back, and then drop your chin slightly down as if the back of your head is being pulled up away from the back of the neck, and this is a chi generation posture. So now you're a chi factory, you're sunk down. And let's take 5 full 4-part breaths. In the nose, hold the breath. Hold it 2 seconds, 3 seconds, maybe 4. Slowly let the breath out, seeping out, just like we did at the beginning of class. Seeping, and then effort the breath out. Squeeze it out. You kind of tone in the belly. And then hold it out. And then inhale when you're ready. Holding that breath in 2, maybe 3 seconds. Let the breath out like air out of a balloon, and then push the breath out. Hold it out. Inhale when you're ready. Feel that expansion. Feel that oxygenation. Feel that opening of the spine and nerves. And then exhale. Squeeze it out. Last breath. With the exhale, palms face the floor, hands float down like leaves, knees can straighten a little bit. Make sure your chair is where you think it is. That always gets a chuckle because we're always like, oh yeah, that's important. And then have a seat like we learned today. Just sit in your chair. And that's officially our class for today, so we can unmute everybody. And then I'm going to stick around for a little bit.